Today we're going to talk all about the notes programs that you can use. Again, there's a lot of different options out there for this. Some are super powerful. Some are a little more simplistic, and it really just comes down to your needs. But I can't suggest any more strongly to find one that works for you and use it. Just like reminders apps, for me, I use a three-prong attack to stay organized between teaching music, running the tech department, and coaching sports and just doing all the groups I play with and things. Between email and starring emails, my reminders apps and notes apps, that's how I stay organized. There is no way I could do all this if I didn't use these three different things. There are lots of options out there. The first thing you need to consider is, do you use just Mac OS devices, just iOS? Do you jump between just Apple devices, or do you switch between Windows and Apple devices, or do you use just Windows devices, or do you use just Android? So that's kind of the first piece you need to look at. And just like I mentioned in my reminders videos, I jump between Windows and Mac devices. Mac devices are definitely my daily driver, but there are times I do end up working on Windows, as I have a couple of Windows machines at work that I do use routinely. So for me, having my notes on all those different devices and locations is really essential. So I went with a solution that easily works on all those different devices. If you're just in the Apple world, I would strongly look at the Apple Notes program that's built right into all your iOS devices and Mac OS devices, and it's completely free. If you're on Windows devices, there's one called OneNote. And I will tell you, even on Apple, especially if you use an iPad with Apple Pencil, I would strongly take a look at OneNote. But there are a ton of programs out there. One of the other ones that's been in the game for quite a while is called Evernote. So the three I'm going to obviously be showing today briefly is Evernote, Apple Notes, and OneNote. Those are the three I've used heavily, and I've routinely jumped between them all the time to the point where I've moved all my notes from one to the other more times than I can count. But I think I'm finally settled into what I am permanently using. And it also comes down to features. Is the Apple Pencil something you need to really use a lot? And the features that you have with that, OneNote, you really can't go wrong with it. And I'll talk more about it when we get to that. And I'll talk about some of the pros and cons of each one, because even the app I use has a couple of cons, especially if you use an Apple Pencil heavily, like I do like to use. But there are a lot more out there. There's some apps that are more geared toward like using Apple Pencil, so you get that handwriting feel. I know there's GoodNotes, there's Notability, there's Notion. You can get into apps that can really get crazy deep, and they can link and layer between all sorts of different ones. So it's really just finding what works best for you. Again, today's video is just going to kind of cover the more simplistic level of these different apps. It's more so just getting you to think about using a notes app if you don't currently use one, as it can be so helpful, especially if you're trying to move away from all that paperwork that you have. You can use these apps to get you to finally maybe get paperless in your daily life, which does make things easier. On my phone, for example, I can swipe to one side and I can click scan, and I'll scan an invoice. Like if I go to the vet and take our cat in and I get the bill, I can set it on the counter, snap a picture, and within a couple minutes, it's already saved into my notes. So that is really beneficial, and then I don't need to worry about it. Before we get started though, please hit that subscribe button down below, as I greatly thank all of my subscribers, as I've had probably at this point close to 100 new subscribers in the past month. So first of all, welcome to all my new subscribers. And if you're not currently a subscriber, go ahead and hit that button down there. And while you're down there, hit that little bell button right next door so you can be notified when I post new videos. And also don't hesitate to leave some comments down below too. I do read and respond to all the comments that are left, and I use those to help inspire future videos. If you're coming across any issues, I can kind of help you out with that. Or if you have a favorites note program you like to use, don't hesitate to leave that down in the comments. As I said, there are many of them out there, and it really comes down to what features you need to use in your daily life and what works for you, because what works best for me may not work for you, but a lot of the principles from one notes app to another still do apply. So it's all about finding what works best for you. So without further ado, let's jump in. The first one I'm going to show is the one that's built right into Mac OS devices, which is the Mac Notes, or Apple Notes, or just Notes is usually what it's referred to. And again, this application works on Mac, works on iPad and iPhone. They do through iCloud. If you go to iCloud.com, you can log in with your Apple ID and you can access it. Now, I will say if you want to do any printing from there, unless it's really improved recently, which I don't think it has, it can be a little challenging to print from the web interface. So if that's something that's kind of important to you, that's something to think about. But overall, the Mac Notes program, again, will probably satisfy 99% of people and work great for you. The one thing I don't like about it, and I'm really hoping with the new version that might come out this year when they announce it at WWDC in June, which is typically when they announce all their new software, is better Apple Pencil integration. That's one of the big thing that's keeping me from fully switching possibly over to Apple Notes. And again, I jump between systems, so for me, it's a little more difficult. But on an iPad, if you're using the Apple Pencil, when you go to use it, what it'll do is it'll put a chunk of drawing space right below your text. So for example, if I create a new note, or let me just go to a note here. I'll just go down to my pets. So I've got my pets' birthdays here. If I went to draw with an Apple Pencil, I can't draw over top all this text. It would open up a new text area down below, and that's where my drawing would go in. So if you want to be able to interact between text and using your Apple Pencil, you're going to want to look at one of the other ones that I'll mention and one of the ones I will show for sure. So let me jump back to that notebook that doesn't have anything in it. So as you can see, on the left-hand side is your navigation. Sometimes they'll call them notebooks, sometimes they'll call them folders, sometimes they'll call them sections, or they'll use a variation of those three. Apple Notes does call them folders, so you've got all your different folders. So if you're teaching classes, you can have a folder for each class. If you're a student in school, you can again have a folder for each class, or just whatever way that helps you stay organized best. If you were scanning in bills, for example, under pets, I've got one for my different vet visits. Under this, you'll see actually it's got attachments right there. So I can actually scan in photos of the receipts when I go to the vet. I also do it for the vehicles that we have too. So when the vehicle goes in the shop, I snap a picture of the receipt and it's there saved and I can get to it all the time. For example, for my vehicle, I also have my license plate number because I never remember it, especially if you go into a hotel or a motel or something and they ask for your license plate. I don't know how many times I've had to kind of sit and look out the window or go into my insurance or just run out to the car and take a look at it. But in your notes program, you can just pop it open and it's right there. All right, so if I go back to the video, you've got your folders on the left, and then you've got all your notes listed here on the left. You can kind of change around how they display. So for example, if I click on pets and click on the icon there, it will change them to a little different display. I tend to like this layout best. But when I go to create a note, all I'm going to do is click the create icon. Whatever text you type in at the top is the title of the note. And if I enter down, then you can just start typing the text. This is the text of my note. Now they've got some navigation stuff. You can scan in documents. You can give it different font sizes. You can italicize, underline, script it. You can make checklists. So check 1, check 2. So again, in my reminders video, I did mention that some notes programs kind of have all these features in one. So if you're just looking for one way to do something, you can use kind of reminders within your notes program. Some of them allow you to actually set reminders in some of those more advanced features that you saw in the reminders apps. Apple Notes, you just create to-do lists. So you'd have to remember to go in and check it and all those things. But you can tick the boxes and it will allow you to do some different features. I use it when I go on vacation routinely at our summer place that we've been to a few times over the years. I've grown a list over the years of all the stuff we need to take. So each year I don't have to go, oh, what is it that we bring? I can just go right through the list. For example, another great thing that I do is pep band trips. When our basketball teams make the state tournament, which is pretty much every year, which is awesome, which didn't get to happen this year, sadly, but the pep band gets to travel with the basketball teams, and I got to remember the drum set, the sticks. I actually one year forgot our snare drum for the drum set, and luckily there was another school there that had a spare snare drum, because for anybody that knows music, the snare drum's kind of important for the drum set and kind of needed. So that kind of spurred me to create a checklist and a note of what percussion instruments to bring. So I actually just go right down the list. And if something isn't checked off, then I know I got to make sure I get it. But the other flip side of that is when we're down at tournament, I can uncheck everything and then recheck it as it gets loaded on the bus. So I can ensure that we also took it with us. So it's got some multi-uses like that. So you can just enter down again and get out of that. You can insert a table. You can actually lock your note. So if it's got some private information, you just want to keep a little extra secure, you can lock that note. You can insert photos, scan documents. So you can actually put in a document. You can add sketches, like if you have your Apple Pencil, or you can use your phone. You can share your note with other individuals. So you can share it with your spouse or family member or friend. Under the share screen, you can, again, this is pretty common for Apple. You can AirDrop it, text message it, add it to reminders, things like that. So it's a pretty simplistic but fully functional notes list. It gives you a lot of capability. And again, probably for 99% of people, this would work great. However, there are some other choices. So I'm going to close out of that one and I'm going to switch over to the one I did use for quite a while, which is Microsoft's OneNote. In my opinion, Microsoft OneNote is one of the better ones out there. If you heavily use the Apple Pencil, check out OneNote. It is free, so all you have to do is just create a Microsoft account and you can get access to it completely free. And this program, you can go on your iPad with the Apple Pencil, you can type in text and you can draw over it. So what I used to use it for all the time is when I'm developing like the technology budget each year. When I meet with our superintendent, as she has notes or we discuss through things, I can use the Apple Pencil to make markings all over the document and just some reminders, oh, okay, I need to adjust this amount or I need to make sure I add this in, things like that. So the integration with Microsoft and the Apple Pencil is phenomenal. And they have lots and lots of organization. So you'll see up here, I've got notebooks. So they have you create notebooks. So if you're a teacher, you could create a notebook for each of your classes. I've got a personal, a work, tech help, and I was trying to do a podcast at one point, but I just, too many sticks in the fire or whatever that saying goes. So you create your notebooks and then within the notebook, you add sections. So if you're a teacher, you could actually have a notebook for, for example, I teach a media production class, so I could have a media production notebook. And then within that, I could have a section on assignments. I could have a section on tests. I could have a section on, audio editing, photo editing. And then within that, I can add pages. So there's a lot more organization to it. So a lot more breakdown to give you that chance to really organize things. And as you can see across the top here, there's lots of formatting options, lots and lots of them. You can also password protect a notebook. So you can only, not a notebook, a section. So I can't password protect individual notes like you can in Apple Notes, but you can password protect sections. Tons of formatting things. And again, as I said, the Apple Pencil is where it really shines. Just for me, I just didn't prefer the layout and I don't know, just something about it for me just didn't work the way I wanted. And I like to use tags, and tagging in here doesn't quite work the same. But like I was showing with the other app, test note, but down here I can click anywhere and just start typing. So if that's a function that you want, that is really cool. It's like a full-fledged notebook. In my opinion, I think OneNote is one of the better all-around notes apps out there. It's just missing a feature or two that I like to use that just kind of took it out of contention for me, because I do love the integration with Apple Pencil because I'm a heavy Apple Pencil user. But you can create headings. You can create, just like I did earlier, you can create to-do lists. Check 1, check 2, and so on. And you can tick those boxes. They even have additional stuff. You can put questions or remind for later, definition. So lots of options in here. For formatting, you've got, if you're used to Microsoft Word or a Google Drive, it's got a very similar interface. Lots of formatting options. You can share notebooks with other people. So if you're doing some collaboration stuff, you can share a notebook. If you're a teacher, let's say you teach in the math department, you can share a notebook out with all the math team so you can actually work together on things. So lots and lots of potential in this one. In my opinion, again, I think this is one of the better ones out there. But check out OneNote, definitely one to consider. I'm going to jump over to the third one, which again is the one that I use, which is Evernote. They've been around the game for a long time. I'm going to say right up front, I'm not thrilled with their integration with the Apple Pencil. I wish they would do it in the same way OneNote did, because if they did, I would be 100% all in. I love OneNote's integration with the Apple Pencil, and that's my only frustration. I really hope it's a feature they're adding. If you're OneNote and you happen to be seeing this, please, please add this feature. To be able to integrate text and drawing all in the same area is just so nice to have, and that's its weakness here. Otherwise, to me, OneNote is awesome. Because as you can see on the left, just like all the other programs, you have all your navigation, your notebooks. You do have a home screen, and they have some fancy stuff here. You can do all sorts of different things. So it really kind of gives you that kind of overall interface when you visit the site. You can customize the background so you can make it look really, really nice. That's something I really do like about this program, is just the amount of features it has. It's just that Apple Pencil piece that I don't like. And the other thing I also forgot to mention is web clipping. OneNote has that capability, and this has its capability. And I know some of the other Notes apps have this capability, but OneNote and Evernote are the two big ones that do this. And you can add an extension in your browser. And I know it works with Safari, Firefox, and Chrome, that you can install these extensions for both OneNote and Evernote. And what it will do is when you go to a website, actually, let me just pull up my browser and I can show. So right here, let's say I wanted to put this page in my notes. You'll see up here, I've got the little elephant icon. And if I tap on that, it's loading the web clipper. I can just save the article, a simplified version. It will do the whole page. It will just save a link, or I can take a screenshot. I can tell it where to save this in my notes. So I can select all the different notebooks I've created. I can add tags to it, and I can add notes to it, and it will save it right into my notes program. Again, this works for Evernote and OneNote. And as a teacher, I use this all the time. As you saw in my interface, let me get back to it. I've got some articles here that I use in my media production class. So I use this to organize a lot of the different lectures that we do in class, or the discussions that we have. So I can quickly find the videos or the articles or the photos that I need to be showing the students in the class. So that's a really, really nice thing about it. The organization is very, very similar when I click on a notebook like I do the other ones. You got the list here on the left. You can change the ordering. You can filter it. You can change the view options. So there are all sorts of ways that you can have it look on the side. So it gives you lots and lots of customization. You can really customize this left-hand side. You can start with your notebooks. You can see your tags. You can share them. If you use this more in a work environment, you can actually have a work chat. You can see your trash can. If I scroll up here, you can add shortcuts. So if there's notes that you use all the time, like we're getting ready to upgrade our elementary, or actually not just our elementary, we're getting ready to upgrade our district's network. So I'm just making notes of what we need to purchase when that time comes. I've got our tech budget. When I go grocery shopping, I actually have a note that has all the different dinners we eat, because sometimes you get to the grocery store and you're like, what dinners do we want to cook for this week? And sometimes you forget about some of those dinners that you really like. So I actually make a list, and we just kind of look through and figure out our dinner. It has a recent notes section. You can view all your notes, and then you can view it broken down by notebooks. And then I also have a tag section. So I actually create a tag for all of our pets. So if I just want to see all the notes on our dog Coda, click on that, and I can see all the stuff for him. This is where I really like Evernote, is the tagging feature. To me, it is phenomenal. So for example, let's say you want to go paperless, or you're working on a class and you want to tag all your certain assignments, or say you're going paperless and you want to save all your electric bills. You scan them in with the app. You can use the app, or as I said, I've got other apps that act as a scanner and then feed them into this. There's all sorts of ways that you can do it, but you can do it from right in the app. I can go in the app on my phone, click new note, tap in the center, select my phone, and I can actually take a picture of the document, and it inserts it just like what you see here on the screen. But I have an app that will automatically do this for me. But then I can tag it. So I could say for pets, when we go to the vet for a visit for Chewy, I can scan in the invoice from his visit. Then I can tag it Chewy. Anytime anything happens with Chewy, I'll tag it Chewy. So if I just want to see his stuff, I just click on the tag Chewy and it just shows me all of his things. That is, by the way, short for Chewbacca for all those Star Wars fans out there, as you can see in my little backgrounds behind me. All right, so when I open up the video notebook, which is kind of my test notebook section, you can click Create New Note. You can give it a title. So test note. You can drag files in here. You can add attachments. Again, all the other ones allow it too, but for me, I really like how attachments work in Evernote. I just like how it looks. In OneNote, it kind of puts them around in random spots. And to me, I don't like that as much. Let's say I just want to put this file in here. I can just click and drag it in and boom, it attaches the file and I can move it around and deal with how I want. I just like how it looks. So I'm going to delete that. Get that out of there. I can just start typing. And what you'll notice across the top here, I can change the text size, the text style, the actual form, or sorry, not text size over here. I can do this type of headers. Sorry. I can change the text style, the text size, text color, bold, italics, underline. You can use a highlighter tool, change the color. You can do bulleted lists, number lists, checklists. You can do all the indentation, the superscript, subscript, all that stuff. On the plus button side, you can add dividers, tables, attachments, photos, checkboxes. So like I was saying with the other one, when I showed you making a shopping list, things like that. You can actually put code in here. You can do a sketch. And as I said, this is where the Apple Pencil it's very similar to Apple Notes. What it'll do is it'll insert a chunk below the text. You draw on what you want and you move on. That's not how I use a notes program. I like to be able to interact with the text and the Apple Pencil where I can circle text, do things like that. And this doesn't do it. Please, please, please add that feature, Evernote. You would win me over 1000% if you did that. And I would suggest this to everybody. Right now, I would suggest it 99% of the time. You can insert files right from Google Drive. So it allows you to do all sorts of inserting of things. You can add tags. You can even add reminders. So this is where I was saying you can kind of combine the ability of reminders and to-do lists with your notes program. So you could kind of have it all in one place. So I could add a reminder to this note when to remind me. Now again, with some of the notes program, with some of the reminders programs, you can set the reminder based on location or based on time. In this, you can only do it based on time and not location, which is fine. And again, depending on your needs, all these come down to what are your needs. The biggest thing I just want to show you is how these apps work, which is all of them work very, very similar. A lot of them just have different layouts. For example, GoodNotes has a much different layout than this program does. For me, I don't like it. My wife loves it and uses that. Notability is one I use a lot to track our golf matches. And if I need to really heavily use the Apple Pencil, it's more focused around that. And I use Notability all the time with my Apple Pencil because it works great. But for my true notes, this is the program I use, which is Evernote. As you can see on the left-hand side, I've got a lot of notes. So it just gives you all those potentials. You can share the notes, you can print them, move them, search. You can search within, like if I scan a PDF file, say there's a price in it and you just want to find that price and you can't remember where it is, you can search for the dollar amount. It will search within images and PDF files. And I believe most of the big notes apps will also do it, but you may have to get into the paid tiers to do that. Evernote does have a free tier. They only allow it, I think, on 1 or 2 devices at most, and I think they limit some of the functionality. I believe it's $7 a month that I pay. Let me check really fast so I can let you know for sure. Plans. So the free, yeah, you can sync up to 2 devices, and it's got some basic space usage, which if you're just a kind of a light user, probably the free would work great. You can sync it if you just have a phone and a computer or phone and a tablet. You're fine. I pay the $8 a month and it gets you a lot more features. You can annotate PDF files, access notes offline, sync unlimited devices, all sorts of stuff. Gives you a lot more space. And maybe eventually I'll step up to even the bigger one, but I don't think I'm going to need to worry about that one. But it's there as an option. So as I said, I'm a big Evernote fan. And I've moved, I can tell you from experience, again, I've driven my family crazy. Luckily, not as much with this one because it's just me that uses it. But the reminders apps, sharing to-do list, I kept moving my wife over to other reminders apps as I kept switching, and it just drove her crazy. I have that tendency at times, especially being a techie. I love to try out new things, but I've moved around. I've used OneNote very heavily. I've used Evernote heavily. I've used Apple Notes heavily. I've used Notability heavily. So I have a lot of experience with these apps, and just for me, Evernote works great. So I hope this helps just kind of briefly show you all the different notes apps that are out there. I know this video got a little on the longer side than what I wanted, but I cannot stress enough about organization and going paperless, just how helpful that can be. And I just cannot stress enough, especially if you struggle with organization, please, please, please look at reminders apps, look at notes apps. They will help you a ton. If you have any questions or just would like a little help with organization in your own life, don't hesitate to leave a comment below, or you can go over to my website at adamontech.com and contact me over there. I am more than happy to help you out looking at the different apps that are out there. I really hope you find these things helpful in staying better organized. This is Adam on Tech, signing off.